Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And I got to start with this from the Crypto Basic. Top crypto CEO says ultra-wealthy families are quietly buying XRP. This comes from Jake Claver. A friend of his was driving a rich family to Disney World, and they got talking about XRP. And of course, the ultra-wealthy are loading up on this cryptocurrency. Remember, I always told you XRP is what the elites see as the future. Invest in what the elites are investing in. You think the ultra rich doesn't know what XRP is? They absolutely do, because they're in those inner circles where XRP is quietly talked about for years. And that's why any working retail investor, if they want to get financial freedom, this is the cryptocurrency you invest in. And this comes from Riz. Did he say a few years ago? Listen to how they got the name for their ETF.
Man, everybody wants to know, how did you get the XRP ticker symbol? That's prime real estate right there.
All credit goes to Hunter Horsley. Our CEO at Bitwise, a few years ago, you have to reserve these tickers. So you have to petition the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ that you want to reserve these tickers, that you're planning to launch an ETF related to that ticker. And then you have to prove that you're planning to do that. You have to show momentum in that direction. And we look back in our archive, it was a few years ago, Hunter told Teddy that we wanted to reserve this because we knew we were marching in the direction of XRP. So really excited to have that ticker. The ticker is not everything, but it's an important thing. And obviously that is the iconic ticker. So it was great to have that for launch.
I think they all knew years ago what they were going to do with XRP in the future. That's why we're seeing those ETFs right now. They've seen the demand for this cryptocurrency even during the bear market. I remember back in 2022, there was a lot of people very bullish on XRP, even when retail didn't want to touch it. And that's why these companies go in this direction, because they know where it's going in the future. Here's Matt Hoogan once again talking about XRP.
You also recently launched a Ripple ETF. Why did you focus on Ripple?
Yeah, so Ripple has an extraordinarily strong community. It's a Lindy asset that's been around for a long time. And therefore, we think people want exposure to it in an ETF. And then the second sort of implied question, I think, in your question is, what about its real world use case? And my view on Ripple is that this is a blockchain that faced existential regulatory threat for the past X years. The SEC was suing it basically out of existence. As a result, there was no chance for it to have any real world adoption because who was going to partner and build on Ripple when it faced existential lawsuits from the SEC? Just not going to happen. Now those lawsuits have been removed, and there's a chance that this blockchain finds real world use cases now that it can compete on a level playing field. So we launched the ETF to let the community and people who are interested have high quality exposure in an easy ticker. We have a great ticker there, by the way. The ticker is XRP, which is pretty cool. We reserved that one a while ago, waiting for this. And then the investment case is, there's a reason we haven't seen dramatic scaled real world adoption. That reason was the regulatory threat. And now it's been released. And so that doesn't guarantee that Ripple succeeds or that XRP succeeds, but it means that
what it does is it opens up the ability for Ripple and XRP to succeed. They were held back by that Rippleverse SEC case for years. And finally, we got a level playing field. And that's why I still believe that XRP's run hasn't even began yet. I think it just adjusted for that pro-crypto administration and the Rippleverse SEC case coming to an end and the anticipation of regulations getting put in place. I don't even think the run started for XRP yet. People keep saying XRP already topped out. This run's over. Come back in 2028. But I don't even think it's started yet. We have a long way to go from here. Europe just flipped a switch. The first Mica approved Euro stablecoin is now live on the XRP Ledger. Fully compliant, fully scalable, fully unstoppable. This unlocks EU-wide institutional liquidity, and XRP is positioned perfectly. If a Mica compliant stablecoin is going live on the XRP Ledger, you know the direction this is already going in. Because now other countries are going to go in the same direction. You got to remember, Ripple was also fully vetted by the United States as well. That's why regulations in the US are going to be very bullish for XRP. It's already happening in Europe because of Mica and Ripple's ability to pass Mica regulations. Italy sets hard Mica deadline for crypto platforms to comply. Like I said, Mica regulations, they're going to start to expand out, and other countries are going to put those regulations in place. So what happens to non-compliant companies? Companies that don't want to get Mica licenses face strict rules. They must stop all activities in Italy by December 30th, 2025. This includes ending all customer contracts, returning crypto assets and money to customers, stopping custody and management services, posting clear notices on their websites about their plans. And Italy is even telling customers of these exchanges to get their crypto off the exchanges. In other words, you don't know what's going to happen if they can't pass regulations. Because think about it like this. Some of these companies will just fold up like an overnight event, and your crypto will be gone with them. This is why I'm always telling people not to store their crypto on the exchanges. We're going to see a major bottleneck in exchanges very soon. It's going to happen in country after country. Ripple and Franklin Templeton. Take a listen to this. This tells you the way that Franklin Templeton looks at Ripple and the direction they're going in.
It's going so far.
It's been great. I mean, look, we are a partner to the Ripple organization. We're working with them in many ways. We see the value that they're creating across their whole ecosystem, including the XRP chain. And so we think that, we have an investment team, and we run funds that are actually investing in coins and crypto. This is one of the investments that we've favored. We think being able to offer it to clients in an ETF is important. We've also added it to our Easy Peasy, which is our multi-coin ETF that has now 8 different coins in it. And XRP is actually our 4th largest allocation in that multi-coin portfolio. So we're really able to bring our investment conviction about the chains that we think are going to really be instrumental in creating this new industry infrastructure. This is what gets represented in our Easy Peasy product, and that is what we're able to offer to clients to give them either diversified exposure, or if they want an individual coin like XRPZ, they can get into the XRP ETF individually as well. And that augments the ETFs that we have already in Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Well, that's kind of the question I have is we have talked to a handful of fund managers that have launched XRP ETFs here recently, all of which have been very successful. Do you think we're at a phase now where the institutional validity that's being put out there within Wall Street, along with the demand that's coming from both institution and retail, has this started to step XRP up to the level of what's happening in the Bitcoin and ETH ETFs?
I think that we're moving in that direction, right? I think that there is a very interesting story playing out around stablecoins. XRP is one of the only chains that also has its own stablecoin, right? The RLUSD. And I think that adds a new element to what they might be able to do in terms of building business around the chain. don't forget, I think one of the most exciting prospects of these new rails is going to be the vast increase in the number of computer-to-computer transactions that are going to start to occur as we see more people get comfortable with Web3 models, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that, when you have your own stablecoin and you've got this chain that is already a public chain that has an independent verification network operating around it, this starts to become, I think, a pretty interesting business case, which is why we've been looking to partner with and doing more with Ripple over the last couple of years. Don't forget, they had some challenges here in the US while that lawsuit was on.
Sure.
And outside the US, they've been continuing to build their business dramatically. We operate globally, so we've been engaged with them in Asia for some time, and now we're seeing that start to spread out to more regions of the world.
So what Franklin Templeton is investing in is the disruption. They know the direction Ripple is going in. They know where XRP is going from here. And it's just going to continue to expand out and grow. And take notice how she was talking about expansion outside of the United States. Ripple just went fully global while the Rippleverse SEC case was happening. And she even mentioned regulations. I think everybody's waiting for regulations to be put in place because they know that's the next step for XRP adoption. A rumored Treasury memo from 2014 to 2016 warned a private fintech could outpace SWIFT. So was the SEC's hit on Ripple a real case or just a stall tactic while SWIFT rushed its ISO upgrade? The timing feels too clean. I looked at it like this. We had President Trump from 2016 to 2020, and things were moving very fast back then. Remember, they were talking about a digital dollar. They were even talking about paying out stimulus in digital dollars. But I think the rest of the world wasn't ready yet. So the Rippleverse SEC case started. And Ripple went global after that. They started putting rails in place everywhere. Very fast as well. Then we got President Trump back last year through the election. And when that happened, I think it put the U.S. right back where we left off in 2020. And I think now it's go time. And you could see it coming together now in real time. But the Rippleverse SEC case, it also vetted Ripple fully in the United States as well. Plus, we already know XRP is never going to be a security again. Ripple CTO David Schwartz breaks silence and reveals his full XRP Ledger Hub metrics. So this is that project that David Schwartz was working on. But how does this benefit XRP? The bottom line is he thinks XRP Ledger's financial primitives should be used in more situations, not just for quick payouts to a small group. Schwartz also acknowledged the risk side. Making radical smart contracts additions require a lot of engineering, creates unpredictable outcomes, and changes parts of the XRP ledger that he thinks are essential. Even successful experiments like AMM cannot guarantee usage levels, so new functionality needs proof that it can drive real demand before the ecosystem commits. With the hub disclosure, it looks like Ripple CTO is ready to prioritize transparency in operations while keeping protocol changes on a strict, evidence-driven track. So what David did was he created this hub, and he wants to see how much volume that hub gets before they commit something like this to the XRP ledger. In other words, they don't want to have all these projects on the XRP ledger slowing down the XRP ledger. He wants to see how it can all work together and we still get fast, cheap, and secure payments at the same time. I can't wait to see where this goes from here. And Ripple's ready. Take a listen to this.
there's so much conversation going on about AI and how AI is going to be reshaping the world. There's not enough conversation about how technology is going to be reshaping the financial services area too, and the need for democratization. As Secretary Besson talked about the democratization of investing in America. There are slews of middlemen in the whole financial services area. We have elongated settlements, elongated processes. If we could digitize every asset, so if we could digitize all stocks and bonds and have it more seamless going from a digital wallet of cash or stablecoin into equities or bonds through, in most categories, through an ETF, it will reduce the friction costs, the transaction costs, and it allows a much more free flow. So there's $4.1 trillion of money in digital wallets globally, sitting in stable coins mostly. And can you now, and right now if they wanted to go into a bond or stock or have a real estate transaction, they have to take the money out of the digital wallet into a traditional wallet and have all those commissions and fees and all that stuff. So the whole idea of tokenization of all assets, including real estate ultimately, is to just reduce huge friction costs, making investing easier, simpler. You could, as the Secretary was talking about this one account, you can do this all through your app, and it's going to allow a more, I would say, a free-flowing process of investing.
Everything is going to become a tokenized asset, but you still need to custody those assets, and you still need to be able to move those assets. And that's where XRP would come in. You need to cut the middlemen. You need to cut the friction. You need to cut the cost. And that's what Larry Fink is looking at. Technology is not slowing down. It's only advancing. It's speeding up. We're on the verge of the rise of AI. I mean, it's already happening, but it's about to really blow up over the next couple of years. Wait until you have machines paying other machines and so on. And in the middle of all of that, you're going to have cryptocurrencies because we're holding the robot money when we're holding XRP. That's why I always said, if you invest in the right cryptocurrencies, you don't need to invest in 30 different cryptocurrencies. You just need to invest in the right ones. The ones that are well-rounded, they're going to be part of the new financial system. They're going to be tied to AI. They're going to be tied to everything going over to digital, from the traditional financial system into the new digital system. And XRP is at the heart of all of that. And that's why I always said, whenever somebody talks about the price of XRP, it can hit this price point or that price point because of market cap. I laugh because market cap does not matter when you're talking about a cryptocurrency that can move anything of value all around the world at a time where people are frustrated and they're tired of SWIFT and they're tired of the fees and they're tired of waiting, over the course of a weekend for a transaction to show up on a Monday or a Tuesday and hope that that money got there. You see why an alternative was needed a long time ago. But I don't think the world was quite ready for it yet. Now the world is ready. Everybody wants instant gratification. You even have the Trumps, Eric Trump pushing the end of SWIFT. You have his brother, Don Jr., pushing the end of SWIFT. Other people pushing that SWIFT needs to go. It's outdated and it's horrible and everybody wants an alternative. That's how we get rich in the end as XRP investors. When people like that are pushing for something new, you already know something new is here. We're holding it. And you see Ripple putting the rails in place for that to happen. That's why I always tell you, stay patient, stay positive, and we will get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.